What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Breaking Bet here on this Friday, October 11th. You just saw us on Wednesday talking a little Week 6 NFL slate. But you know what? We promised you that we would be back on Friday because you know why? The MLB playoffs. Honestly, no BS. This has probably been one of the better MLB playoffs that I can remember in recent years. And so far it's delivering. We still have two more pieces of the puzzle to get to finalize the final four teams in the ALCS / NLCS. I need some help to do it. So you know who I'm bringing in. It's my guy, Eric Pauly. What's good, E? How we doing?
What's going on? Hope you guys aren't sick of us. Obviously, Johnny and I, we plan on doing more content in general, just kind of get it going. Obviously, baseball is huge for us. We love the sport, and football is king. But like you said, it's been a hell of a playoffs. We have huge games. I know Johnny and I, if you don't know, we do have SD exposure, but we're going to get into how we think about this game. We'll get into tomorrow's Cleveland Detroit game. And then, of course, we'll discuss a little bit, I'm sure, of what we expect in the ALCS and the NLCS, but we got to get through these two games first.
Yeah, so Eric, I mean, obviously the two of us have some major San Diego exposure. For me, I have 35-1 I took on the Padres to win the World Series in July 28th. And a couple weeks ago, maybe right before the playoffs started, I took Fernando Tatis, World Series MVP at 65-1. And then after they beat the Braves, I took him at 25-1. What are you currently sitting on?
I have San Diego to win the NL 22-1. I took that on July either 14th or 19th. I have the slip somewhere. July 19th, I took that. I have Fernando Tatis to lead the entire field in the playoffs in home runs. I took that right before the first game of the playoff start, the wild card round start. That's at 39-1. Also have Luis Ariz 22-1 to lead the playoffs in hits. That one's looking a little bit more dead than the other two. I mean, all these kids could literally die tonight, unfortunately, but we'll get into all that.
Yeah, so let's get right to it, bro. This has been one of the better series that we've seen, not just this year, but in years past. It's a heavyweight fight. NLDS Game 5, San Diego Padres, plus 122 at the Los Angeles Dodgers, minus 144, with a total of 8. Every single one of these games has been 8 runs or more. It would have been at least 9 in Game 4 had the third base umpire not got his arm on a ball that was definitely going to be extra bases and seeing Ohtani score. Mm-hmm. It's going to be Yu Darvish for San Diego. Fantastic in Game 2. 7 innings, 1 run, or 6 innings, 1 run. Absolutely diced up this LA lineup. And it came out last night that it looks like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who got banged up in Game 1, will be getting the ball for LA. How do you break this one down?
All right, so there's a lot to unpack here. Obviously, this Dodgers lineup, very familiar with Yu Darvish. This team right now has had 294 plate appearances, this current roster, against Yu Darvish. Some of those were pitchers. You got Andy Pahet, Walker Buehler, who's over 4 with 3 Ks. Obviously, you throw that out. And the reliever Anthony Banda. But regardless of those over 5 there, it's still a very good – Yu Darvish has been very good against this lineup. If you look at what he's done against his current roster, a .21 expected batting average, a .334 expected slugging. They're getting the ball a little bit in the air, 19.1 launch angle, but only an 87.4 exit velocity on average. Expected weighted on base down to 274. And even like the best the best Dodger against Yu Darvish in terms of expected batting average is Gavin Lux, who's still 4 for 17 against him with a 235 actual BA, but 349 XBA. But to me, Johnny, then on the other side, Yamamoto, like he's struggled against San Diego. We saw it in the beginning of the season in that first matchup in the Korea series, then obviously in Game 1. But Johnny, the way that I view this game really just comes down to can Darvish and the Padres relievers get the bottom of the Dodgers lineup out? If they cannot do that, they stand no chance because of the way that Ohtani obviously is a threat for 2 bases every single pitch in the box. Mookie Betts is currently on fire. Freddie Freeman has obviously had a down season for Freddie Freeman, but he's still obviously one of the best players in the game. Then you have Max Muncy healthy. Gavin Lux is raking. Like the way the Padres win this game is if they do what they did in the first start with Darvish, is when they need to get the bottom of the lineup out. They can't be getting Ohtani and Betts up, with only one out or no outs and a runner on first and second already.
Absolutely. I think, you said it. And this is what I was hearing on the broadcast as well. Like John Smoltz and Joe Davis. The Padres need to get the bottom of the Dodgers lineup out because there's just so much firepower in the upper third, top four, top five. It's so difficult, and you can't give them extra opportunities. I think a lot of the reasons why San Diego is having trouble is because, quite frankly, they're grooving too many pitches. At least Dylan Cease was, and some of the relievers were just flat out grooving 98 right down the middle. It doesn't make sense to me why they're playing too much in the middle of the zone when they should be trying to get the corners and try to, kind of pitch on the perimeters a little bit. And, I think the Dodgers are going to be well aware that the Padres are not going to be trying to get them, absolute cock shots this time around. Offensively, the Padres got to get back off to the fast start. That's how they were having success. And here's the thing, and I think this is what Dave Roberts is going to be telling his team today. We saw the success the Dodger bullpen had against the Padres lineup in Game 4 by pitching away from them. They were breaking tendencies that was happening in the first 3 games. For example, Fernando Tatis was hunting first pitch fastball the entire series. He was crushing everything. But what did they do? They had sweepers, sliders away, use Tatis's aggressiveness against him, make him chase. Now, I think what San Diego's approach on offense has to be is, we know you want to get out early, but sometimes in a situation, it's okay to take a pitch. It's okay to kind of, work a count, work an at bat. You don't have to get it done on the first pitch. And I think because they were so aggressive, LA kind of saw that and was pitching to neutralize that, if that makes sense. So I think what San Diego is going to have to do is recognize that LA has kind of got them on the back foot in terms of pitching matchups, and they need to be a little bit smarter on how they're attacking.
No, I think that's well said. What you came with Nando, I watched him on 2 eyes as well. It's a fact. Like, he was attacking the fastball. They mixed in the off speed. He was getting, swinging over some of these pitches. My concern is that San Diego peaked too early. And obviously that's, you could say, recency bias here because, just 2 games ago, they put up an absolute, fantastic game. But at this point, Johnny, like the way, like if it's, again, I don't want to be too much on recency bias, but if we're going to say who's the hotter team, obviously San Diego was one of the hottest teams in baseball coming into the playoffs, win the wild card, and we're into Game 5 here, so this team still obviously has some fire in their bellies. But the way that the Dodgers are hitting, and then this is like what you wanted to see from the Dodgers. Like when the Dodgers have their little bit of a lull in the middle of the season, so much of that was predicated on the fact that when they were banged up and injured, the lineup stunk. Like there were times when like Mookie Betts was out, and you would look at some of the lineups that they're putting together, and you're like, who the hell are these people, and why the hell are they on a game? Like, it's Kike Hernandez, Andy Baez, like Austin Barnes, Chris Taylor. It's like, how are these guys playing baseball for the Los Angeles Dodgers? You expect this team to do so much better. But then when Mookie's back and hitting the way he is, this is the Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Teo Hernandez, Freddie Freeman, if he is capable of going, Will Smith. Like, then there you boom. That's 6 amazing players, and that's what made the Dodgers so scary. Add on to that their pitching firepower, which obviously has the injuries and is not as good as it ever was going to be. But this is, I don't want to see the Dodgers win. I was out on the Dodgers all year. I'm like, this is not a World Series team. However, you can't deny the talent, and the talent is finally in the lineup, top to bottom, with obviously Freddie being a little dinged up. That's the one thing that they're kind of missing. But again, like, you could argue based on the season he's been having. I mean, I'm never going to say you don't win an MVP. That still bats around 300 in your lineup. Obviously, you want that man there. But this is the version of the Dodgers that you really like expect to see, and they're hitting the ball well.
You know what's funny? Teams spend all this money on payroll. They have all these expectations. They get these fantastic years. Ohtani should run away with the MVP, first 50-50 guy, all that. But at the end of the day, in a situation like this, throw out the trends, throw out the stats. It's me versus you. That's all it is. Who's got more heart? Who's got the bigger sack? I mean, if you're San Diego, it's time to sack up. In my opinion, I don't know how you lose that game in Game 4. They have everything going their way. They need one more win to get to the NLCS. They're at home, chance to close it out. They have Dylan Cease against a bullpen game. No Freddie Freeman. They choked. They flat out choked. But, Eric, let's see what kind of sack San Diego has.
The one thing I will say, obviously, again, it's hindsight and the fact they lost 8-0, it's a choke, but they went out on a limb by pitching Dylan Cease on the short rest. That was a boom or bust move.
Who else were they going to start? Martin Perez?
I mean, it didn't work out with Cease anyway. Obviously, again, it's hindsight. Yes, you prefer your stallion. That's not the debate I'm having here. But with that being said, you have a guy literally going on short rest for the first time, especially in these scenarios, and especially a guy, I mean, Freddie was out, but Cease, if he is getting touched, it is mostly from left-handed batters. And we do know that Cease, as good as he is susceptible, as realistically any pitcher is, except I guess Scooble at this point, is susceptible to getting shelled here and there or just not having their best stuff, especially as Cease, who has some issues with command. It was, again, the bullpen ended up still blowing it anyway. It's not like he left, not like Cease let the ball 10 runs and then the bullpen was lights out. They had, I forgot who came in, but it was literally a first pitch of a reliever coming in, boom, 2-run dinger. And also there was an error when it was a 3-0 game, or maybe it was a 4-0 game, that with a tailor-made double play ball to Bogarts, they allow an error. Then that keeps obviously a runner on base. And then the next they change pitchers, and then they let the 2-run home run. Johnny, I love this Padres team. I love this lineup. I love this pitching. I love this bullpen. This is why I had them. I took them when I did take them. But momentum has fully shifted in the Dodgers' favor. And while, again, the Dodgers that we know over the last X amount of years are the chokers and the regular season merchants, but Shohei Ohtani obviously is that guy. But dude, he is deserving of as close to the Bonds treatment as you could possibly get at this point. And the problem with it too is he gets on first base, he's stealing second and probably third. It's ridiculous, bro.
I get it. I do. The thing is, I am worried. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I am worried. This is a tough team. I mean, you have a team that has $1 billion payroll. Obviously, it's the Dodgers at some point are probably going to have to wake up. I mean, how many times are you going to get this close and not do anything with it? Let's disregard the Mickey Mouse 2020 World Series in a COVID season. It was Mickey Mouse. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, dude, even though I'm nervous, first of all, this is the kind of shit that I live for. I mean, we got real money on this. This is really what it's all about, especially as a bettor. Obviously, we would like the rocking chair, make it a little bit easier. But, this is kind of what makes it fun. And this is what really gets me like an absolute lunatic. But I have to go down with the ship here, man. I really do. They have a pitching advantage here. Darvish. I know Darvish has been fantastic against the Padres. But something tells me, despite all of this momentum shifting towards the Dodgers, their Game 5 opportunity to go to the NLCS at home, San Diego got embarrassed in their own building. In a bullpen game, 8 guys for the Dodgers came in and didn't allow a fucking run. Mm-hmm. How many times does that happen in Major League Baseball? Not many. Mm-hmm. San Diego needs to show me that they're going to come back ready to play, and I think they do. I don't think they allow something like this to happen. Mike Shildt has had a phenomenal year as the Padres manager. I don't think he's going to allow them to go out like this. I think he's going to change up the approach a little bit, make sure they're not falling victim to what was working for the LA pitching staff in Game 4. I think they're going to come back with a vengeance on this one. And, I think obviously it's going to all start early. They need to get up, build the lead, and let that bullpen go to work and get after Yamamoto early like they did in Game 1.
They have to. And I think it's very underrated to mention, obviously managers in baseball, people can argue how, necessary they are / how many wins they would even add to a season or even win probability per game. I personally believe that there is a massive edge with having a good manager. Massive is obviously, you can quantify that to what it is. I'm not going to say it's like worthy of, 20 cents on the money line, but it is definitely an edge when you have somebody who can pull the right strings. And Dave Roberts, surprised still the Dodgers manager at this point. Like, he really isn't a great manager. And yeah, you could say he pulled the right strings in that bullpen game because he made the right calls and they did what they had to do in terms of, getting the Padres hitters off balance. Because I saw, like you said, I saw a different arm every inning. Like, at any level, especially obviously the pros, like when your guys are dealing and you're seeing different arm slots, different lefty, righty, like every single at bat, it's hard to get into this rhythm, which is why we know pitchers don't even go deep. One, because of the injury aspect, but two, because nobody wants to keep their pitcher in for a third time through because these guys are professional hitters and they adjust and they, the more they see him, it's more advantageous for the offense. But I'm not placing a bet on the Padres money line, nor am I like fading myself with the Dodgers and just like trying to, recoup some coin or anything. I'm just riding my ticket. Have some props, Johnny, I think we want to go talk into. Yeah. But right now, man, like, I don't know if it's just kind of me being nervous. We just got confirmation, though, that our Book It with Trent, the fade god, is taking the Los Angeles Dodgers. So that's a little bit of a hype shot to Trent, hell of a guy. But dude, like, I don't know if I'm just being pessimistic because I'm trying to like jinx it so I could be happy at the end of the day.
Jinx, you piece of shit.
I don't think I really am not reverse jinxing. I genuinely think at this point, like, it's like we're not talking about like, like the Tigers, like, oh, like they're playing hot, like maybe they'll be able to beat it. Like, no, we're talking about one, arguably the hotter team, and two, also just arguably the better baseball team here. Like, not even arguably, like I think probably most times you would say that the Dodgers are the better team. Though obviously San Diego's a hell of a team. So I don't know, John. I think we should get to some props because unless are you doubling down and taking the Padres tonight too, or you're just riding the ticket?
I'm picking the Padres to win, but I'm not going to bet it. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, I mean, I think here's the biggest thing, at least for me, for the World Series, because you have the NL, but like, then if the Padres were to advance. Mm-hmm. Right, then they play the Mets, and the Mets is right now, it's two teams of destiny, and we're in the NYC area, that might be a game we go to, but then I feel like the winner, regardless, is coming out of the NL. One of these three teams is winning the World Series. I don't see the American League, whether it's the Yankees, the Guardians, or the Tigers, winning. Honestly, the Yankees are so lucky. They are so lucky. They have maybe the easiest path to the World Series that we've ever seen on one side. I might be over exaggerating, but not by much. Like,
not by much. No, not at all.
The Yankees they have to face the Kansas City Royals. They're not good. The Royals, like, they're much better than last year, but if we're quantifying it as a real World Series contender, the Royals are not it. Like, you have a down year from the Rangers. You have the Mariners, who honestly got off to such a slow start they couldn't help themselves. You have the Toronto Blue Jays had a down year. Like, all these teams, and it's the Kansas City Royals sneak in. They don't have to face the Orioles or the Astros. Like, what I'm like living in the Twilight Zone, how this has happened. So I think one of these NL teams is going to be the World Series winner. So to tell you the truth, I think you're probably better off betting a future on each and every one of them. And to tell you the truth, if you like the Padres, anybody out there listening that likes San Diego to win tonight, I wouldn't even bother taking the plus money here. I would probably be looking at them to win the NL, win the World Series. You're getting 5.5 to 1 to win the World Series. So, I'd probably save the plus 122 because I think if they win this game, they're going to win it all.
I don't disagree at all. I was talking to my buddies last night. We were watching sports, and I was like, "Listen, bro. Like, I don't care if the Tigers make the World Series, and it's the same thing as like the Diamondbacks last year. This Magic team, even though this Tigers team is much worse than even that Diamondbacks team was last year, obviously outside of Scoobs the GOAT. But dude, I'm hammering the NL in the World Series. Yankees too. Like, I don't care, hammering.
They're not good. The Yankees are, dude. The Yankees got such a break that the wind was blowing in as ferocious from right field. Otherwise, it's a tie game, and who knows? Who knows what happens? But in addition, actually, before we move on to props here, I find this interesting as well. Instead of maybe even betting the Padres to win it all, you could just bet Tatis at 14 to 1 to win the World Series. Now, I think there's going to be an unwritten rule, not rule, but like an unwritten, unspoken kind of aura happening with Fernando Tatis that if the Padres were to win, and he has even a solid, like a decent World Series, because of what he's done in the postseason, it's almost going to act like it's a cumulative effect. Like we've seen that in college, and I'm not saying college and MLB is the same. Like example is Dylan Cruz won the Golden Spikes in 2023, when, in my opinion, he shouldn't even have been a finalist. And Jack Caglione and Paul Skeens could have won over Dylan Cruz, but Cruz got it because it was a lifetime achievement. He's one of the best, maybe the best college baseball player of all time. So I'm thinking, like, if Tatis is even decent in the World Series, that could be a better bet than taking the Padres. So Tatis 14-1, if they're going to win, he's probably going to have to be at least good.
Barring like anybody, like obviously they have talented players, Machado, Arraez, Merrill, etc. Barring one of them going like absolutely stupid in the World Series, like I agree with you. And then obviously, who's the candidate to go stupid in the World Series? The freaking absolute animal that is Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah, I will say this: if the Padres win the World Series and Fernando Tatis is World Series MVP, I am naming my first child Fernando, regardless of gender. So a lot riding on it, and I will personally request Tatis to be the godfather of said child. Let's get to some diamond props, baby. You started off. Are you liking any pitcher props, or are you going more towards the batting?
Mine, the bats. I guess we'll go back and forth. First one, plain and simple. Shohei Ohtani to record a walk, plus 110.
Ooh.
This is a market that I actually did amazing with last season in the playoffs with Corey Seager. Obviously, he was on this crazy run. Corey Seager, when healthy, is obviously one of the best hitters in the sport and one of the best players in the sport. And it's a situation where also, like, a player that has a good eye, etc. So is Ohtani. Like, just visualizing how this game can go, it could be, a spot where they need to walk Shohei Ohtani or pitch around Shohei Ohtani, because why would you want to pitch to Shohei Ohtani? Obviously, he has people behind him, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but he did walk twice last game, if I'm not mistaken. And, given the price at plus 22, this is a guy where if you're going to lose, right, like, you're not going to, hopefully, you're probably not throwing cookies to Ohtani in like an eighth inning when there's a first base open if the Padres have a lead, and that's a spot. Or it's also a situation where you're going to just be pitching around them from the get-go, and you're not going to want, again, Shohei Ohtani to be the one guy to hit a freaking 500-foot bomb off of you. So Shohei Ohtani to get walked is one of my favorite props of the week. Favorite props of the day, excuse me, and I bet it.
I do like that. I think that's a very solid prop. I think, especially on a count where maybe it's 3-1, you're going to unintentionally walk them. I get that. I think that's a pretty good deal there. I'm going to look at the guy that is absolutely on fire. I'm going to go with a little Fernando Tatis Jr. to record an RBI at plus 150. You look at Tatis, I did want to take a shot at his home run prop, but honestly, it's so almost unbettable at plus 285 that, it's kind of a turnoff for me. But instead, you look at Tatis over this series alone, and he's got 5 RBIs. He's got a hit in every single one of these games in his playoffs. He's batting 500 in the postseason with this a 1.759 OPS. He's got 4 home runs, 7 RBIs total. I think Fernando Tatis is going to have a big game. I think the RBI is a good look, though, at plus 150, because you think about it like this. The home run is plus 285, and the RBI is a lot more manageable. But you'd think Fernando is going to get a shot here, probably batting 2, to be able to drive somebody in at some point tonight.
I love it. My next prop is going to be Nando total bases or HR or hits run RBI. Obviously, the man swinging the bat fantastically. He can obviously do that himself with a home run to cash both you and I. But I took Nando. I opted to go with the hit run RBI for Nando. Only minus 130, which obviously is like a little bit of juice. But for that market, Nando last game was minus 160, and the game before was around that too. I know, like you mentioned, Johnny, they did do a good job adjusting to him last night. But at the same time, like, we're talking about not just a great player, but also a great player that's on fire. And maybe they do give him a little bit of the It doesn't deserve the Ohtani treatment with other pitch around him. His name is not a huge walk guy, but yeah, like the total here is 8, so I'm not expecting the Padres to put up a 0 spot in this one. If they're going to do something well, it's going to be because Nando is on base, hitting a big home run, getting that key RBI, or getting on base to then get knocked in. So anything Nando, I went with, I guess, the safer option. Obviously, there's no such thing as safe. It's still a similar play, but with the minus 130, I went with hit run RBI, something I posted.
You know what's crazy? You can do something if you want to take a little bit longer of a shot. Nando to get 3 hits. He has 2 games of 3 hits. That's 10-1. But you can also take the same price to hit a home run, by the way, is Fernando Tatis to get a double at plus 285. That's a little ridiculous. Tatis has 3 doubles this postseason, and actually he's got 3 in the 4 games of this series. So, you know, if you're looking at Tatis, maybe a little double, which is a little bit more manageable than 3 hits. I think Fernando's going to come to play today. I really do. Tatis double, maybe those of you those little freaks that are looking to get a little parlay action, we do a double parlayed with a run scored.
Maybe? I was just curious on the odds on that because obviously they're correlated there, so I'm not sure if they're going to bless it.
Plus 469.
Interesting. I would have not expected that. Okay. I like that.
Honestly, I think if you're looking to take a shot here, I think that's worth it. I mean, he's probably going to get 4 at-bats, so you think he's going to be able to make something happen here. I would give that one a look. A double plus 285 is way too big. I mean, I know it's easier said than done, but that is a very generous price considering that's exactly the same amount for him to hit a home run.
No, it's I like that. I like that. It's unique. I have one more prop. I haven't bet this yet. It's on my radar, but again, playoffs, a lot of times you can just ride the hot hand, and Mookie Betts 2+ total bases is plus money. And
yeah,
based on how he's been swinging the bat, that is definitely something that'd be on my radar to look to back Mookie as well.
Yeah, well, let's go, San Diego Padres. Do us proud. Come through for the boys one time. Let's switch over to the AL here. ALDS Game 5, Detroit Tigers, a short money line favorite at Cleveland. Low total of 6. It's Tariq Skubal pitching for the 3rd time of the series. This guy has been absolutely unhittable. That's just the short order of it. This guy is not allowed an earned run yet. Eric, I'll start. I don't know how you bet against Tariq Skubal. There's no. I think there's just confirmation that Matthew Boyd. This is the Game 1 matchup. Is starting for Cleveland. Tariq Skubal is just too good, man. I mean, right now he is having one of those seasons where he's virtually unhittable. And I was telling my buddy about this. I think Skubal, as great of a season as he's had, and he's going to win the Cy Young, and deservedly so. He's followed that trend. This is the 3rd year in a row we've had a guy that's like that showed flashes the year before and was one of the more popular breakout candidates coming to the year and has delivered. Dylan Cease in 22. I was on that Cy Young, and of course, fucking Justin Verlander, 50 years old, decides to have a 1-something year, right, because he plays behind the best defense in the MLB. The next year, Zach Gallen, who was very much a Cy Young candidate, but kind of fell off a little bit late in the season. And then this year's Tariq Skubal. So I do think Tariq Skubal is right now one of the best pitchers in baseball. I do think he's going to have something of a hard regression next year. I think there's a lot of film on him, and a lot of times we don't see – I'm not even saying a year like this follow next year, but even something like a 2.6. I think he's going to be hitting to like the 3.3s, maybe a little bit higher. But for this game, Eric, Cleveland's offense outside of yesterday really hasn't done much. I'm predicting Skubal to probably go at least 6 innings. He's coming up with timely pitches, getting those double plays when he needs them. He's got these Cleveland hitters so far off balance, it's not even funny. And then the Tigers bullpen's coming in and just shutting the door. And it's strange because like we didn't have Detroit being one of the best bullpens in the MLB on our bingo card. I still don't think they are. I think they're, overperforming expectations right now. I like the Tigers. And I like the under. Let's get freaky in this bitch. Under 6.
Yeah. With baseball, like we talked about on the football show Wednesday, when the total is really low, it's not a mistake. It is by design. The game was moved up to, I think, if you didn't see, John, to 1:08 p.m. during the day because there was expected inclement weather in Cleveland. So we have a daytime game tomorrow for this one now. I'm not sure how that is going to affect many things, as we know in the regular season when it's game, 1:08 and you're playing on a, Thursday afternoon, your offense has probably struggled. Teams will care a little bit less, but obviously this is for all the marbles here. But no, you can't go against Tarek Skubal at this point, especially given the pricing. Like minus 124, like for it's the same price as it was in game 1, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was right around this line, and this is what I projected the line to be. So I'm not shocked with it by any means. The Guardians, their kind of strength has been stringing together hits, and now Steven, like all season long, and now Steven Kwan has been getting it going. But this team's like, that was their MO. But coming into this year, that was their MO. But then this year they changed their outfield where they got rid of some of these banners, and then balls started flying and started being like a home run style team. But you're not taking Tariq Skubal to Pound Town and hitting dingers off of Tariq Skubal. He's not a pitcher that's like for Dylan Cease, for example, as good as he is, like some of his weakness per se is he allows a long ball. Like Skubal is not like that. And that's where the Guardians have like really progressed this year, is with hitting these dingers. And if they're not hitting these home runs, they're not the same run manufacturing team. On the flip side, it's so hard to trust the Tigers to be consistent, considering that they just don't have great players on their team. It's just really not a good lineup at all. But I have to go with Skubal here, the best pitcher. If we were talking about maybe like the Tigers against a better team than the Guardians, even with Skubal on the mound, I would potentially look to fade, considering we'd probably be still getting plus money. But like the Cleveland Guardians, I know they had a great regular season, but like, come on, man, this Cleveland Guardians team is not it. And neither is the Tigers, but at least they got Skubal, which is, once every 3 days in the playoffs, man. Like that's what's going to take them a little bit. But no, I have to go with the short as well.
Yeah, I think it's just, quite frankly, it's so impressive what Tariq Skubal is doing. And listen, granted, this is a guy that has not had to face a good lineup in Cleveland. And, if we're being honest, Houston's lineup is probably the worst it's been in years. Jordan Alvarez was banged up. The top 4 guys are good. After that, the total second half of Houston's lineup is terrible. And he's facing a banged up Jordan Alvarez. And now he gets to face a Cleveland lineup that's not that good. It's probably better than it's been the last couple of years, but it's not that much of an indictment. I think, even though I'm not a huge fan of pitchers facing the same team twice in a row, the second time is usually not favorable for a pitcher in that spot. But there are a few pitchers that it doesn't really impact me that much. And Tariq Skubal is one of those guys. Now, the problem also is, if you're looking across these books here, there's just no real viable options to take Skubal props. There are a lot of heavy VIGs across the board. You can do like a Tariq Skubal to record the win at plus 160. You could do over 17.5 outs at minus 175. Strikeouts over 5.5 is minus 155. The under walks was something I liked, but you have to pay 205 for him under 1.5 walks. I think, honestly, the best course of action is straight up Tigers money line or the under 6. I think if you want to get too cute, that's really where you can get hurt. I think Detroit gets this one done against all odds.
I mean, looking at the first 5 inning market, like that's another way you could play it, because obviously if you're back in Skubal, if Skubal's not making it to 5, Tigers are win shit anyway. So first 5 innings only about minus 150 at some shops. You see a minus 140 out there too at DK. So like that could be a way to also target this game. And then you also have the push capability if this is a 0-0 game, which, getting your money back never killed anybody, of course. But if you want to, again, play it safe, there's no such thing as safe. But like if you want to, I guess, minimize some variance and focus just on Skubal, then you would look at the first 5.
Yeah, I think that's probably the better way to go. But I'm not really excited. I don't like either of these teams. I don't think either of these teams are good. I just don't. I think the American League is so weak this year that mediocrity at best can get you in a position where you're one game away from making the ALCS or even making the World Series.
As we know with baseball, a lot of it, especially with these new formats, so much of it comes down to momentum. And that's something that's obviously impossible to quantify, but it's clearly real. And the Tigers and the Mets, they're the two examples of team of destiny, though you can actually say the Mets have a great roster. If you really do break it down, they have a very good roster. This Tigers team, bro, it's crap outside of schoolboy. It really is. You look at the line, you're like, okay, yeah, Riley Green's good. The rest of the team, it's bro, these guys are not players you'd expect to be playing in a World Series anytime soon. This combination.
Something interesting just came up here on FanDuel. There's a hypothetical matchup now. I don't know if you're able to see it, but it's a hypothetical Subway Series where the Mets would be plus 150 dogs, Yankees minus 178 favorites. So if you bet the Mets here and the Yankees don't make it, then what happens? Do you just get the Mets at 150?
So you're saying the matchup, I'm looking to see if the market is there for me in New York because we do miss markets here, but I guess hypothetical. I see it. Considering the bet void that does not occur. I don't know if plus 150 for 4 wins is better than potentially betting the Mets on the money line every game, because realistically, dude, outside of maybe a Nestor start, when are the Mets gonna be that much worse than plus 150 on the money line? And then if you obviously kind of rolled over winnings, if you bet, say plus 125 game 2, plus 130, I don't think the Mets are really ever going to be favored, but maybe I'm wrong on this market. But the fact that you do get the void if it doesn't hit makes it a little bit more stomachable. But I don't know pricing wise if it makes a ton of sense to bet it, because I think in a situation like this, the Mets are still going to be dogs in most of the games, if not even maybe all of them.
You know what I might do, honestly? I'm thinking about this now. The other things, I don't think the Mets are good. And my dad is such a, I grew up a Mets fan, but I put my money first. I'm done putting my fanhood first, being a Falcons fan for as long as I was, and just, it doesn't work out, I don't think the Mets are that good this year. They have Lindor who's playing at MVP level. You have Alonso, and Vientos had a great year, and you're getting contributions kind of from these guys, these randoms. Jesse Winker, once upon a time, was really good. He hasn't been shit in years, and all of a sudden he's coming up with big hits. And then you have 2 35-year-olds in the pitching rotation. You have Luis Severino, who had one good year 6 years ago. It's bizarre. The collection of their roster is not that good. It's just, I told my dad this. I'm like, listen, if you took this same roster 100 seasons, I bet they only make it this far maybe twice. I will say there's an element. There's an element of I want to say destiny, but magic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of thinking, does it make sense? Because like I said, I think the winner comes out of the NL. Does it make sense for me to hit the Mets here? Is what I want to know. At plus 390 to win the World Series, get a little extra exposure. I mean, obviously it's not even a hedge. It's another bet. But I think if it's not the Padres, then it's the Mets. I don't think the Dodgers are going to win. I think they're going to choke like always. I don't think the Yankees are going to win. I guess, if it's the Mets versus the Dodgers and the Tigers and the Yankees, I'm going to root for the Mets. But what do you think about that? Or should I just go off with the
Padres, and just because you have the Padres exposure, so obviously if they make it, the Mets would be a hedge, in a sense. Even though
obviously should I go World Series MVPs? Lindor 11-1 is probably the better bet.
Yes, that taking a Met to win World Series MVP is probably a better bet at that point than betting into a hypothetical market, even though it does void, which is nice. But that's probably a better way to look at it. But as much as, again, I want to think the Dodgers stink and are going to choke, I the way that they're playing right now, and that they're kind of meshing at the right time. And obviously, again, like we're talking about what we expected in terms of this lineup. My choke meter for them is decreasing. I think the probability of them choking is lower than I thought it was all season than it's been obviously in the past couple of years.
So you really think this one game they had is turning everything around for them?
It's not like, again, like I can see why it comes off as like that simple, and like obviously if it's that simple, it's dumb. It's the culmination of the players on the team. Like, yeah, I'm not saying just because they're like one game, the momentum is definitely swung. Like that's not debatable. Does that mean means they're going to win? Absolutely not. But no, like this is a team that, for obvious reasons, was the World Series favorite since March and is the World Series favorite in October. Like, it's not like a spot where it's like, oh, like, you know, this team was kind of good. Maybe like, no, like they're the favorites all this time for a reason. And again, like now that the players that are amazing, like Mookie Betts has been bad in the postseason the last couple of years, which has been why they haven't done well and part of the choking. But he's doing great. Shohei Ohtani is, again, every single time he's in the batter's box, it's a question of how many bases is he probably going to get if he's not, you know, striking out, or in our case, hopefully walking today. So I don't think it's as simple as like, oh, I think that it's all changed and now like this team is so hot. It's like, dude, this team has been projected to win this entire time. Now that they're actually playing good baseball, why would that change so much? You know, if that makes more sense.
Yeah, I could see it. Might max out. I don't know. Lindor 11-1, buddy. I don't know. I think it is interesting. I mean, you know, it's unpredictable with these World Series MVPs. I mean, you get, but it's correlation, right? It's one guy. You know, Lindor has been the catalyst all year. Again, it's like this cumulative effect. If you like the Mets, it's worth taking Lindor to win the MVP. Well, interesting. I have something to think about here. And honestly, I probably have to do it in the next 4 hours. So that way, you know, I get this in before the game starts. But Eric, this is fun. This is fun. I know, you know, we're going to have a few more opportunities to talk some baseball. We're going to have the NLCS starting on Sunday. I don't think we're going to be able to get a pod in on Sunday, but maybe we can get one in on Monday.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. For sure.
Any closing thoughts? You want to bless the Padres one more time, maybe?
I would love nothing more than the San Diego Padres win. Shout out to Trent for taking the Dodgers. That's the best thing I could have possibly seen on my timeline. Again, just Ohtani walk plus 110 took, and I took Ohtani. It's not Ohtani, excuse me. I took Nando hit run RBI minus 130, and I'm eyeing Mookie Betts total bases. I think it was plus 130, maybe plus 125. I'll get that real quick. Want to make sure I'm quoting correct numbers here. Total bases for Mookie plus 140, even at if you have access to 365, 135 is the more widely available. But yeah, those are the three props in this game that I'm looking for. And of course, I love nothing more than a Padres win tonight for my futures. And a Nando, couple dingers, and a Rise, couple hits for those futures I have too, for them to lead the playoffs in home runs and hits respectively. I'm all for all those things as well.
Twist my arm. All right, guys, I really appreciate it so much. Thank you. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my Dub Club. Use promo code Birthday Month to get 31% off when signing up for a month subscription. Dub Club /_JohnnyVTV. Yours truly will be 31 in a couple weeks, and I am sharing my birthday month with you with 31% off. Best of luck this evening. Let's go, Padres. We'll see you back here next week. Eric, always a pleasure, my friend.
It was a pleasure. Good luck tonight, everybody.
All right, guys. Thank you.